and I teach biology here at the University of Pittsburgh at Bradford. And I'd like to talk to you today about how to study for biology. One of the things that a lot of people find when they talk to biologists or they hear biologists give presentations is many fields of science kind of have their own language. And in fact, learning science is a lot like learning a language. You're going to find that there's a lot of new vocabulary, and that vocabulary has to make sense in terms of how it all fits together, and that's kind of the grammar side of it. So it is a lot of hard work, but eventually you get to the point where things start to click, and you're making the connections, and it's all starting to come together. Because it's a lot of work, you will need a lot of time. Generally, you want to probably plan on spending anywhere from 15 to 20 hours a week on just one science class. And that's why scheduling is going to be very important. You don't want to have a lot of science classes with labs all scheduled together in the same semester. And practice is important. As with anything, music or sports or anything at all that requires the development of a certain skill level, you have to practice it. And that involves repeating the concepts to yourself. Attendance is important. Science classes build. They start at the beginning of the semester with a lot of very simple concepts, and over time you start learning about more complicated types of phenomena that are based on those simpler concepts you learned at the beginning of the semester. And be sure to come to class prepared. By reading the textbook ahead of time will help you with that, so you're not completely overwhelmed by the flood of material, that you have an idea of what they're going to be talking about. Maybe already have learned a few of the terms on your own before you even get to class, and then it makes everything make a lot more sense once you're there. And make good use of your textbook. It's important for you to learn to distinguish between what are the major concepts in the textbook and what are just some minor details or examples that maybe you don't have to spend quite so much time on. Also take advantage of the end of chapter summaries and the practice problems that are found at the end of many textbooks. Pay attention to the pictures. Biology in particular is a very visual science, and often the pictures will say 1,000 words in terms of understanding the material, so study those pictures carefully. Also, when you're studying, be sure to chunk it up. There's a lot of material to learn. Spend 15-20 minutes at a time studying really intently. Then take a little break and then come back. That's going to be a much more effective way of studying than trying to do some 7-8 hour marathon. Also be sure to write things out. There's a direct connection between your hand and the brain. And just flipping through the PowerPoint notes that the professor might provide or your notes from class, that's not going to make it sink in too well into your brain. If you take the time to either write out an outline or a concept map, that's going to help you a lot in terms of processing the material and helping it stick in your head. In science classes, especially biology, prefixes and suffixes are very useful to learn because they can help you figure out what a lot of the vocabulary words mean, even if you're having trouble remembering it just from brute force memorization. For example, macro and micro. Macro means big, micro means small. A macro molecule is a big molecule. A microorganism is a small organism. So just by knowing those prefixes, right away you already knew what I meant by those terms. Mnemonic devices can help too. A lot of times you may be asked to learn a number of terms that are just very hard to figure out how they all fit together. For example, the different intermediates in a biochemical pathway. Obviously, if you're working with it for 10, 20 years, it all makes sense. It's easy to figure out. As a brand new science student, not so easy. You have to find tools that will work for you to help you remember these terms, what they mean, and the order that they're in. What a mnemonic device is when you take the first letter of each term and then use that to create a sentence that you can remember easily. For example, my very educated mother just sent us 9 pizzas. Doesn't necessarily mean anything in and of itself, but it's an easy sentence to remember, and the first letters actually stand for the first letters of all the planets of the solar system in order. Mars, Venus, Earth, and so on. So it's a very easy way to help you remember those series. Practice problems are critical, especially in the more application-oriented subfields within biology and other sciences, such as genetics, for example. The more practice problems you do, the better you're going to do on the exams, and there's often some at the end of books, and you can get extra ones online as well. Be sure to quiz yourself often. This can involve making flashcards, forming study groups with friends where your friends can help test you, and even finding extra practice questions and tests that are available. And these can sometimes be obtained from your professor or sometimes purchased online from Amazon or at a bookstore and so on. And hopefully you'll be able to use some of these tips that I've given you today to help you succeed. Thank you.